What's going on, everyone? Welcome aboard to special night edition of Talking MMA with myself and my co-host Austin. What's up, Austin? How you doing, man?
doing, yeah, pretty good for the most part. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, doing well. I know we come a little early, a couple days early, like we normally custom on Thursdays, but due to the NBA draft, we're here cutting this up. Let's go right to the meat and potatoes of this whole program. Was this past weekend, man? What a battle! UFC 32. Ooh, Corey Sandin and TJ Dillashaw. Man, what a fight! What a battle! You know what? I want to hear your thoughts. In your words. Break it down, my man.
Whoa, I actually don't want. I actually don't want to start with that because I actually want to start with some of the co-main event and the Macy Barber and the Red fight because those two fights, along with this fight, the Dillashaw Singh fight, judging was a big deal. Everyone was talking about the judging. Also, they were talking about DJ's performance and who thought they won, but it seemed like judging was like a big issue, which has kind of like been an issue in MMA for ever since the sport got legalized or regulated rather, excuse me, back in the day. And it's just yeah. And now, but you know what? I'll start with the main event anyways. But you mentioned Sagan Dillashaw
Oh
was
no,
an epic battle. Gotta give Dillashaw at 2.5 years off, haven't fought, and he also had that cut that. What?
yeah, we could go anywhere you roll. You want to go anywhere you go. Well,
Hello?
I'll follow your lead. Yeah, I'll follow your lead anywhere you go.
Okay, well, no, you know what? We'll start main event. We'll do main event. Yeah. Anyway,
Give
so
me
Sting and Dillashaw, I gotta give Dillashaw credit. I mean, I thought he won.
salute Dan. Dan is in the building with us here. I'll talk a little MMA with us as well. I'm glad to have you aboard.
Hey,
Go ahead, Austin.
salute.
No, well, this, the, I
Can
thought he
you
did
hear me?
enough to win. But I can understand why everyone thought saying it. Other people thought it was one of those fights where you're okay with the decision regardless of.
I understand. Austin, can you hear me? Is
Can
he hear
you
me?
hear
Is he
me?
coming to you? We can hear you. Is he coming to you, Dan? Can you hear him there?
Yeah, but it's a little choppy.
It's a lot of choppy. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead, Austin. Go ahead and break down what that down again. This is Dan. Dan, this is Austin. I'm glad to have him aboard. I'm here to talk a little MMA. A fellow MMA guy that loves MMA. We were texting back and forth on Saturday about the fights. On that, Austin. Yeah, I think I'm gonna give me a second, Austin. Why don't you come on over to my chair on this end, and I'll go on your end. So you guys can chop this up. So let me step out for a minute. Come on over this way. Go ahead. Say hello to everyone. Dan, and I'll bring Austin back in here.
All right. Salute to everyone. I hope everyone's having a good night. Hope everyone's safe, and hope your family's safe. As far as the Sandhagen versus Dillashaw fight, I say it was a really good fight. At the end of the fight, at the end of the judgment, at the end of the final judgment, I was upset at first because I initially thought that Sandhagen had done more than enough to win the fight, but what I could see from the judges was the fact that Dillashaw kept the forward pressure, and Sandhagen, uh, he kind of, I don't know, to the judges' credit, as much as Sandhagen did enough, and he didn't take too much damage, he um he gave rounds away because it was a lot of times where you saw him doing a lot of unnecessary things where I don't know, maybe he felt like his initial power wasn't enough, so he started doing a lot of the spinning attacks, and that it didn't work out for him. it really didn't work out for him, because if he stuck to the fundamentals, which we saw in I'd say later in the fourth round and all the way through the fifth round, I think if he kept that consistent pace, he would have won. He would have won the fight in the judges' eyes. But it is what it is.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from because I thought he did a little bit too much like spinning attacks and try to get all fancy. I feel later on that fight, and I thought Dillashaw won because I thought he didn't. I thought he won round 1, 3, and 5. And, but yeah, Sangan, I think he lost. I think the sport pressure of Dillashaw and Sangan didn't exactly respond all that well with the with like Dillashaw kept going forward. It seemed like every time Dillashaw tried kept going forward, he couldn't never they have a counter response, couldn't counter or anything like that. And I know those guys used to be teammates back, a few years ago. And they used to say Sangan needs to get better at Dillashaw. Although in this fight, we didn't really see it that much. And, and I think I gotta give Doctor credit for not stopping the fight because I think it was the second round, was it, where Dillashaw had that nasty cut like right here. I think it was second round. I don't remember.
Yeah,
I think,
it was the second round, because the first round, Sandhagen, he and this is something else too, which is why I felt like Sandhagen, when he got away from his fundamentals, he ultimately lost his fight, which was that in the first round he did a lot of like sprawling on his back, and when he did that, I believe he had caught a leg lock somewhere, and I think Dillashaw may have overextended his leg. So
yeah.
I think if Sandhagen went right back to doing the fundamentals, doing a whole bunch of low kicks, and sticking to the jab, which was really money all night, I think he would have won the fight. But yeah, it was roughly around the second round, after all the sprawling. That was when he got cut.
Yeah, and like I said, give credit to Doctor for not stopping that fight, considering that was a bad cut. And also, you are right. The Dillashaw, he did mention that he did injure his leg. Like I think he had a somewhat minor surgery, I believe, today or like yesterday, after that leg lock. And you would think, that if he would just stay focused, standing not stay focused, but stay the basic fundamentals and get that going, he probably could have won this fight. Probably secure himself a title fight considering he had two impressive knockouts. And I get and like I said, I got to get Dillashaw credit for hanging in there. But he is 35 and he's ended up on 2.5 years. He had those doubts of wondering if he still had it, or people are wondering if the EPO made him a great fighter, things like that. And he showed that no, he's still one of the elite bantamweights in the world. And usually in the lighter weight classes, but when you're like 35 and stuff, usually you tend not to do well, especially as you get older. The lighter you are, it seems like the worse you are older versus like heavyweight where you can be 35 and be in your prime.
Yeah, I also believe like because he's aging, like weight can be attributed as far as like when he's making the weight cut. But the fact that he showed that he could hang in there with Sandhagen, who pretty much was taking people out left and right and was making a name for himself as far as the title contendership goes. I believe that Dillashaw did enough to put his name among the ranking, and to at least secure a spot to maybe get the title shot after Jan and Sterling.
Yeah, I think so too. I think we don't know. We know that fight's gonna happen October 30th in Abu Dhabi, or no, yeah, Abu Dhabi. And who knows, how long, what happens, how long they're gonna need before they fight again. And Dillashaw, like you say, he does have a case to probably get a title shot, considering he's former champion. He never lost the belt. He got belt stripped of him, and he just beat the number 2 guy in the world, and Corey Sandhagen. You can do that, or do him and Rob Font. I mean, Rob Font's won 5 in a row, and he's number 3 title eliminator. I think a lot of people like to see that fight also.
Yeah, I think so, but I think it would depend really on the result. If Peter Yan wins the fight, he wins the fight and he goes out there and says he feels like he technically never lost the belt. Like he may have did the knee with the hands on the ground, out, out of a mistake. So I think like if he does that, then Dillashaw makes a case right there, because he can make that same case that Peter Yan makes. If Aljamain wins, then I think Aljamain he can at least milk the time to go, all right, you guys have to fight for #1 contendership.
Yeah, possible. I see your point though. I can see Jan and Dillashaw being in the same position, never losing the belt, somewhat, and then I can see that. But also, how long? Who knows? If the second fight we go. We all know the first fight Jan was doing well until the knee, but you never know. Things can change. Maybe the second fight's different, and it may take him a while for him to recover. And if Dillashaw is able to recover, his injury is not too bad. Maybe he did mention he like to take another fight. He's here to fight, so it could be him and Ron, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see. MMA is unpredictable, as we know, so wait and see for that.
Yeah, it's really unpredictable. Like someone could, knock on wood, but someone could get an injury during training camp, and that could change the entire picture.
Yeah, exactly. Also, what do you think of Corey Sandhagen? Like, where do you think he goes from here? Because he's still a top five. I mean, bantamweight in the world, and I do think eventually he will fight for the world title. I mean, I'm trying to think in that bantamweight division. Who do you give Sandhagen?
See, the reason why I didn't want to give Dillashaw to Font, because I was thinking that may be his next fight. If Dillashaw, but see, I understand why you said that Dillashaw should fight Rob Font, because granted, this was a good fight, but I don't think he made the case to, just immediately vie for contendership. I think if he has an impressive going against Rob Font, then that would really boost Dillashaw's credit to claim. So as far as Corey Sandhagen, like after a loss, I don't know where he goes.
Yeah,
It
because I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying like after a loss, I don't know where he goes because he was really impressive, but this isn't a loss where uh I don't know, like it's he's in that weird space where Max Holloway was after the Volkanovski fight,
Yeah,
where the
he did.
judges say he lost, but everyone thinks he may have won. He may have
I
had
thought
a
he
case to
won.
win.
I still think he won that fight. I still consider Holloway the featherweight champ.
Yeah, especially what he did to Calvin Kattar afterwards.
Ooh, yep, destroy that poor guy.
Hmm.
Yeah, because I'm thinking it's not. I'm trying to think top five bantamweight. And I'm trying. I'm reason slipping my mind because you obviously have Jan's one. We know he's fighting Sterling in the rematch. You got Sangan was two. Dillashaw, I assume, will have to be up there. Fawn's there. I'm just thinking like, what are like bantamweights like? That's like on a roll because Marlon Rice hasn't looked well. He's lost his last two fights.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, I don't know. I think Aldo's fighting Pedro Munoz in the next UFC pay per view, if I'm mistaken. So maybe the winner of that can fight Corey Sandhagen. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
because
I
all
think I think that would solve that because Aldo does want a shot at the title.
right, and Sandhagen didn't. He didn't, it's controversial. He's lost. I mean, all Sandhagen needs to do is have one victory, and he can get a title fight, basically.
Yep. I think the victory. I think the winner between Aldo and what's his name,
Munoz.
Leos. Yeah, I think the winner between that fight Sandhagen.
Right. I think what I think so too. That'd be a good idea for the UFC to do. Actually, this Dan, wait up the judging because everyone was talking about the judging for this card and how it was just very like bad.
Yeah, because a lot of people felt like they kind of, how do I say, from event to event, it's not really the striking that they're judging differently. I think it's the wrestling.
Really.
I think like if a wrestler maintains a dominant position but isn't working, uh sometimes they might dock them. But if the wrestler is doing that and then out of the break they may catch a wind and start to work a little, but then if they're getting beat, go right back to the hold. They they judge that a lot better, and I don't understand why the wrestling is being judged differently. That much I feel is what's the most consistently inconsistent.
Yeah, that I mean the problem is like see a comment here. Bantamweight under Sterling. Oh, it's the rankings basically. Sterling champion. We know Aljamain. Then Jan's one. DJ's now two. Of course, Hagen's three, and Rafon's four. Okay, I just wondering like five to like nine, but yeah, going back to the judging, I think the problem is it's not unified the rules. Like every state's different. Like you have the old rules where you put one hand and you can't need them. You can't need them. One hand's touching the ground. Some cases it has to be both, and then instant replay, and then that's like the one thing I really hate about like the commissions that it's not unified. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's not fair to fighters because you don't know what rules you have to follow. I mean, fighting's hard itself. Now you got to worry about what rules to do, what not to do, and all that strategy. It's a giant mess. Boxing
It's-
doesn't have that.
I mean, yeah, boxing doesn't, but boxing also doesn't have the attraction that MMA currently has.
Well, that's true, obviously, but still, you would think that's something that boxing, despite its flaws, doesn't deal with. You would think MMA could at least fix that up.
Yeah, and what was I gonna say? The reason why like that's a big flaw is because MMA is such a wild and brutal sport. It doesn't require just the hands like boxing. So, with boxing being limited to just punches, it, I don't know how else to say it. They just have to find a way.
Right, I prefer if all 50 states had the same rules. That'd be much better. Thing. But also, but yeah, even then, sometimes judges just don't know what they're looking at. I mean, did you watch the co-main event by any chance?
I believe so, but you'd have to remind me who the co-main event was.
It was on Pivia against Kyle Phillips. I
And
can't pronounce.
I think Pivia won.
Yeah,
Yeah, by fifth round, he slugged it out.
I see. See. To me, that was a draw. I don't know how that wasn't a draw before because Pavia. Okay, Phillips damn near finished him in the first round. Dropped him. Pavia did nothing. It looked like he was in trouble. Like he was like really in trouble. Pavia. And then you credit him, he survived. But Phillips looked like he basically almost emptied the tank basically in that first round. And then Pavia did win rounds 2 and 3, but that first round was so dominant by Phillips. I honestly do not know. I honestly wonder how that wasn't a 10-8 the first round for Phillips.
I, yeah, it should have been a 10-8. It definitely should have been a 10-8 round, right? But the way he was so inactive during that second round, I think possible that some judges may have went 10-8 the second round.
10-8 to Pavia.
Yeah,
How,
because this is why like when I watched the fight, I was upset at Phillips. I was really upset at Kyler Phillips because he looked excellent, but he kept rushing everything. And so he basically just, like you said, he emptied the gas tank. So now the second round, he was not initiating everything. And I think that's probably the only consistent judging you could see that between that fight and the Sandhagen fight is the fact that because he stopped initiating and you had Pivia going forward more, that made it look better for him.
right, but right. But my thing is, I'm talking about the first round. How that wasn't a 10-8 considering Phillips Pavia did nothing. Like he just survived. It wasn't like did anything to hurt Phillips or make him stop. And I do agree, Pavia did win rounds 2 and 3. And a lot of that had to do with not Pavia, excuse me, Phillips emptying his gas tank after the first round. That's what I'm saying. I don't know how this was a draw. I don't know if this wasn't a draw, considering how dominant that. Especially since the new rules, you're supposed to like give out more 10-8, especially with a lot of damage involved. That's why I'm kind of like even like surprised that Pavia got the victory, considering how much he got dominant in that first round.
He did get dominated and he was surviving, but I guess the reason why that it's all contingent on that second round is that you could say the same thing for Kyler Phillips. He spent the second round just surviving.
Yeah, but I don't think he was ever close to in danger of being stopped as like or as Pavia was in the first round. That's my only thing to me.
Yeah, yeah, but I what um shoot, I don't want to be a spokesman for the judges, but what I can say with Pavia was he did show a better ground game in the second and third round, and the second and third round was spent mostly on the ground.
That's true. Yeah, there were a lot of ground actions in the third and second round. That's a good point. Well, yeah, I mean, it's very interesting fight. I think Phillips was ranked number 13. Yeah, he was 13, I think. No, 14. And in the bantamweight, I think he was ranked too, Phillips. So I think he lost his rankings now.
Yeah, and that's sad because he had the fight right there. It's all about fighters trying not trying. It's all about fighters knowing how to secure rounds. Like just because you have your opponent on the ropes, that doesn't necessarily mean to rush in. Like a lot of we're seeing now, especially with the the great fights that go on when a fighter is hurt, the guy that has the fighter hurt, he what makes it better is usually after that first rush in, when he learns he shouldn't rush in, is when he stands the guy right back up. If he gets him down or if he wobbles him a little, he's going to maintain the range that he's in and continue to throw jabs, continue to throw power shots. So it's all about knowing how to secure the rounds.
That's true. Yeah, yeah, you do got to finish at the end. You do got to like know how to finish. Obviously, that's a good point. And did you? And also, I did. I actually, I only did I watch it. I think I may. I think I accidentally skipped it. But Darren Elkins, the damage. He apparently he came back from a vic. He was getting his butt whooped, and then he came back and won.
Yeah, yeah. That was a crazy fight. I thought he all but lost. I
See,
really
yeah,
did.
really. See, there. That's just like Darren Elkins' career, where you think he's gonna lose, and yet he once takes like damage. Ironically enough, his nickname rather, he comes back and is able to beat his opponents. It seems that's what happened here in this fight. Like, well, I'll say like I'll say it was TKO by punches or was it by kick?
I think it was TKO by punches.
Yeah, okay, okay. Well, it's great to see Darren Elkins still like. I'm surprised he's able to take all this damage and come back to win, considering he's been around for like a while now. Not a young guy anymore, and yet he still takes these fights, these all this damage, and yeah, he still pulls out the victory. I mean, it's
Yeah, but
like
I don't trust fighters like those because you're starting to see now like those type of fighters, they're not looking too good. You see, and I don't want to disrespect these guys, but the guys that kind of they thrived off of taking damage and dishing it right back a lot more. Guys like Nate Diaz, he looked all but fantastic in one round.
yeah, against Leon Edwards. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was about
it,
to mention the Diaz brothers, but you beat me to it.
yeah, I'm excited for the Nick Diaz fight that's coming up versus Robbie Lawler. I'm very excited for that. But Nate looked really bad in the Leon Edwards fight, except for the fifth round, and I didn't want to besmirch this guy's name too, but the evidence is right there with Tony Ferguson, his last three fights.
Whoa, man. Yeah, yeah, man. I mean, especially since that 12 fight winning streak and that Gaethje fight. People forget he won that second round. Damn near finished Gaethje in that second round.
Yeah, but then Gaethje, he just turned it up another level.
Right? Yeah, he did. And then seems like yeah now 3 fight losing streak and his toughness is still there. I mean, he's been putting these weird like submission holds and yet still survives.
And it's not like he's not losing against scrubs like his
Oh
last three fights. He lost against Gagey, who went on to fight for the title. He lost against Charles Oliveira, who's currently the champion. And then his last fight was against Benil Dariush, who everyone believes is coming up and making a name for himself. Like he didn't lose against scrubs, but I feel like the skill of these fighters right now that's coming up. It's so much so that you can't be the guy that's taking damage and dishing it right back. I think that's for the later rounds. You have to be able to hit and float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. You can't hit what you can't see. You got to be able to dodge those hits.
Yeah, I was gonna say basically, hit don't get hit basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Elkins it seemed like the old school type of guy who like gets hit, but he hits somehow pulls off. I mean, we'll see with Elkins what happens to him next. Always fun to watch Elkins. Never a boring fight with him. And did you watch the Macy Barber and Random Maverick fight?
Ooh. I was hoping you'd get to that fight. That was controversial for me.
Yes. Go ahead, Dan. Go ahead.
Okay, Macy did not win that fight at all.
I agree.
And the crazy part is, coming into that fight, I was a fan of Macy Barber. So watching that first round, it was so disgusting the way she did not initiate. And the crazy part is, for her to do all the initiating that she did in the third round, I felt that the judging was inconsistent because she basically ran from the action the first round. It was like she was just trying to survive till that third round, and I don't know why that wasn't just like it's bizarre to me. The judging is just bizarre to me.
It is. I mean, I think it's the second round that's where. See, everyone agrees that Miranda won the first round, and I think it's the second round that they gave to Macy that what she didn't deserve because she was doing well, but then Miranda in the second round was able to get like, a takedown, like get ground control and like dominant position. And that's why I gave it to that's where I gave it to Miranda, and that's where to me I thought she won the fight.
Yeah,
And you're right. The first round Macy was engaging. It was almost like she was like almost I don't want to say it, but like at times she was looked like she was shadow boxing, like she was throwing, but like she was nowhere near connecting at all, making her punches or strikes, and
it
then but
it was bad because it felt like she had no concept of her range, and Macy's a better fighter than that.
I agree. Yeah, she is.
And so it felt like, for some odd reason, it felt like you knew, like she knew Miranda was nowhere near her range, but she kept throwing. So it's like, no, you have to initiate. You have to get in closer. You don't have the wingspan. And on top of that, if you get closer to Miranda, you're negating a lot of her power. And granted, I don't know, who did you feel like was the better wrestler?
I thought Miranda is the one with I think the better grappling. If I'm mistaken, I believe so. I could be wrong on that, but Macy's strong for that division. She's not as she usually likes to bully a lot of girls. Usually that's how she's able to do it. It's as if for her knockouts, number of victories. And also, it's kind of surprised she didn't go for him. I don't know if she respected too much of Miranda's power or like strength.
No, Miranda had power to match hers. Like,
I,
that was why the second round was so controversial, because Macy started to try and do her bullying act, but Miranda, when she threw back, Macy felt it, and they made her go, "Okay, time out. Wait, I gotta pace this." So now when she's trying to go forward, and Miranda was tagging her up in that second round, she was really tagging her up.
yeah, she was. Yep. It's kind of she was, and then yeah, the third. I remember. Then you mentioned the third round. Macy turned the corner around, and Miranda was kind of she looked gassed, Miranda, in that fight, and Macy was actually hitting her some shots and winning like the clinches, winning in the clinch, and it kind of reminded me of her last fight. If you remember when Macy fought Alexa Grassos, I think it was like in March. Macy's first round struggle, but in that third round, she came through and like gave Alexa hell. It kind of reminded me of that, where she goes all these weird slow starts, but yeah, in the third round, she's able to pull on these girls.
And DC said it on the commentator table. It's like these slow starts do her no justice.
Yes,
It does her no justice because you're putting yourself at a disadvantage.
right, exactly. Slow starts, you can't give rounds, especially to someone once they get the momentum. It's hard to get it back. Hold up, it's not exactly
Especially in a 3 round fight. Like, the
right.
reason I and this is why like I said, I'm a fan of Macy Barber, but that's the limitation for her before she can get to championship fights. And those championship fights, whether you like it or not, they're going to be 5 rounds. So you can't just give up the first 3 rounds and then try and turn it on in the last 2 rounds. You're not physically going to be able to. Like you've already spent like at least 15, 20 minutes in the octagon. So now you're going to try and turn it on after you spent 15, 20 minutes. No, you're not going to have the gas tank. So that's why she has to find a way to get herself better starts, but in a way that she can conserve her gas tank and she can still do her bullying act in the later rounds. That's what would serve her best. But right now, that's the only limitation I see for Macy Barber.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the slow start. That's just to work on. She did move to a new campus fight, Team Alpha Male in Sacramento, Uriah Faber and them. Maybe that's the camp that can finally get make that can change her. Maybe get her to be a better starter and also maybe and you mentioned cardio or gas. Make sure she has the energy to keep going in the third round.
Yeah,
Hopefully, hopefully, because that's she was at Duke Rufus, which is one of the better gyms in all MMA. So we'll see there. And yeah, I agree. I mean, DC also said that he didn't read the decision like immediately in the commentary, like right after the announcement was given. Yeah, I mean, I think that's one. I mean, it seemed like to me that might be contender for worst decision of the year, or robbery of the year rather.
yeah. I truly felt like Miranda did enough in those first 2 rounds that regardless of how strong a person comes on in the third round, I just think that if you did a whole lot of damage in that first and second round, I think you've done enough that if you lost that third round, it shouldn't weigh too much that, it's swinging the decision.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I just think. Yeah. I just don't know if that judge were looking at second round. I don't know if they just ignored what Miranda did in the second round, take down better ground position at the end. But yeah. But yeah. Is there? Wait. Did you watch the prelims by any chance or no?
I didn't quite pay attention to a lot of the prelims because I was taking care of some tasks. I did watch some of the fights, but you know, I I, I wanted to also talk about the Adrian Yanez fight.
Oh yeah, that's right. I was about to say that was the opening fight. Go ahead, because I missed that fight unfortunately because of work and stuff.
Ooh, Adrian Yanez. I think he was just a little too confident in his power. And I think like because he's so confident in his power, that first round was so sloppy for him because it wasn't like it wasn't like the opponent did anything that was so out of control that Yanez couldn't handle it. But he lost that round convincingly because he just didn't have any head movement. He's just trying to, he was just trying to, all right, you tag me, I'm gonna tag you back. And the way the guy's hands, I forget this guy. What's his
Randy
name? If you,
Randy Costa, I think his name.
yeah, but his hands were so good. It was like whenever Yanez tried to fire back, it was like you got hit, you tried to fire, whether you landed or missed. He fired one more time and was able to just light up Yanez. And Adrian did not. I think his head movement should have been way better for that first round. I think he could have ended the fight in the first round. So that was my only, that was my only critique of the fight. Adrian Yanez is a spectacular athlete, a great fighter, and I can't wait for more of his fights.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely. As long as he works on the head movement, he could maybe he can do something in the bantamweight division, which is arguably turned out to be probably the best division probably in the UFC. Arguably bantamweights. I know we talk about lightweight, but these bantamweights are pretty damn good too. I mean, we went to Sangan Dillashaw. I know we got Jan and Sterling's good. I know people are upset with Sterling because of what happened with the whole the title fight, but Sterling's no joke himself.
He's no joke. He's really good.
You got Rob Font. You still got Cody Garbrandt and Aldo, even his age, still hanging there. Pedro Munoz, Dominic Cruz is back now, and you
Yeah,
got so that division, bantamweights is I think to me it's the best division in UFC. Probably all of MMA too, if you count Bellator's and weight division.
Um, I'd have to disagree with you.
Oh, lightweight for you?
Oh no, actually, you know what I was gonna say?
What?
I think the welterweight division is the best division in the UFC right now. You start at the top, Kamaru Usman. He's the champion that I feel like is just so well rounded. He's gonna be another guy that's just gonna hold on to that belt, and I don't see anyone in that division taking it away from him. But the crazy part is, all those guys in that division are just straight killers. You're looking at, people may not like him. Colby Covington, he's
Yep.
a killer.
Yep.
He is crazy. Jorge Masvidal, he's great. He
Gilbert
is
Burns.
great. Yeah, Brunson, he's great too. At
Mazarov is the
oh,
best.
not the way.
That loves
No, not.
Masvidal.
I mean, I love Masvidal, but the
Yeah,
way
but
Kamara knocked him out, like yo, I saw that. I saw that sweat pop off his face. I'm letting you know something, man. That man is deadly with the hands, and I loved Masvidal. I thought Masvidal was gonna win the second fight. I
really?
thought I I had faith in Masvidal because I thought he was gonna be able to, because I thought Kamara was gonna try and pressure him and put him up against the cage. So he was like, I'm gonna try and circle around and just stick to the hands. But I did not expect Kamara. I did not expect Kamara to just stay with him, flat footed, and go, let's go, center of the octagon. And that's what he did, and he got the better of him. And that right there made me go, you know what? You got to give it up to him.
That was a good. That was a pretty impressive knockout. Gotta give him credit. It might not be like Usman. Gotta give him credit for that knockout. And then it's a lot. Yeah, that welterweight division is pretty good in the UFC. I mean, you got those guys, Leon Edwards,
Yeah.
Edwards, Gilbert Burns, Chiesa, Vincente Luque. I mean,
Yep.
yeah, 170 gets overlooked. I think that division and bantamweights get overlooked at 155. Although I don't think the same division was several years ago. Personally,
It may not be the same as it was, but these guys they're all great. They're all great fighters, and they all put on great shows. Like Bilal Muhammad. I granted his last fight wasn't, fireworks, but he's fundamentally sound, and he's a guy you can't slip up in there with.
no, you can't. And yeah, Blair's pretty good. He's a pretty no slouch. I mean, you got be infusing cues against him, or else it's bad things are gonna happen. Or else he may beat you. He also got and I forgot Bilal Muhammad I know, and also I'm forgetting somebody. Shoot, there's someone else I mentioned that welterweight division. Oh, Michael Chiesa, I
Oh
forgot.
yeah, Michael Chiesa. Yeah.
That's right. Can't sleep on Michael Chiesa either.
Yeah, and especially after his fight against Neil Magny, he was just dominant against Neil Magny.
Yeah, he was. He
He was
was.
dominant.
And they're a great grappler too, and he dominated Neil Magny.
He dominated Neil Magny. Like it was a different type of performance.
It was. Yeah, and he's also fighting Vicente Luque in a couple weeks on the Houston pay per view. So that's gonna be a fun fight to see.
Yeah, that Houston pay-per-view is exciting. It's a lot of fights that's coming up, especially in the welterweight division. We have our title match set. Kamaru versus Colby Covington too.
Yep.
What round do you think this ends in? I'm not even gonna ask you your winner first. I'm gonna ask you what round do you think this ends in?
Fourth round. Also, but also got. Well, I'll answer this question. Then I'll ask this question. We have a question here from For Our Love the Game podcast. Shout out to them. And this question is: who's the one fighter in your opinion is never out of it? Like they're about to get knocked out, but they somehow always come back fighting. Oh, for me, it's easy. We're talking about the Houston pay per view. Derek Lewis.
Mm.
There's always several fights where he's looks like he's done, and then he comes back to win. Whether it be the Volkov fight, the
Oh yeah, the Volkov
Barbaro.
fight was different because Volkov had him, and then he just what was it on the ground? It was on the ground that it was a knockout.
No, he dropped Volkov,
He dropped him,
and
and
then he
then
finished him
finished him on the ground. Yeah.
Right. He was like a minute away from losing that fight too.
Yeah.
And then there was a I think the Martian Tabor fight he was down but came back and win. There's several fights of Lewis' career where down looks like bad start but comes back and win. There's several of them I've noticed with Derrick Lewis. That's to me it's Derrick Lewis. Great question though.
Um, a fighter who's down but never out of it, in my opinion. Um, hmm. Um, for me, I think it's Korean Zombie.
Oh yeah, that's a good choice.
I think it's Korean Zombie for me because I've seen which fight was it before his last fight? What was his last loss? Where I felt
Brian
like
Ortega.
Brian Ortega. I think he was just getting technically dominated against Brian Ortega. Brian Ortega looked excellent. I think that night, I don't think any opponent in front of him would have stood up to him. But Korean Zombie just has a power. He has a power about him. And I think even on the ground, like regardless,
Yep.
he's one of those guys that he's scary no matter what.
Yes, he
So
is.
I give it to Korean Zombie.
And for the Love Game podcast mention Eddie Alvarez, for example, who do gets his shit rocked, but always makes it a fight. Yeah, Eddie Alvarez is a good choice. Anything about that. It's true about Eddie.
Yeah.
But to your you mentioned the Covington Usman question. I said fourth round.
What about me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got that ending in the third round.
See. You know what? I think decision because I think it's gonna be decision because believe it or not, I do think Colby Covington does have a chance against Kamaru Usman, despite Usman's impressiveness.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Um, Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns, right?
Right.
I think it was Kamaru who didn't want to take it to the ground with Gilbert,
Right.
right?
Because Gilbert went down his back and Kamaru just like kicked his
Yeah,
legs and didn't like go down.
yeah,
He was like
he didn't initiate the wrestling with him, right?
right,
But the fact that Gilbert rocked him, almost had him in the first round, right?
right,
Wobbled him. And he decided, no, let's keep it on the hands. I don't think Colby Covington has enough wrestling in his repertoire to want to take it on the ground with Kamara. I think he's gonna feel like that's a losing battle right there. So let's stick to the hands. And when it comes to the hands, like I really like just to refresh my mind about that fight. I literally just watched it again like a couple days ago,
right.
and the display of just with the hands, the hand-to-hand combat that he had between then and now, he's on a different level. Kamara's on a different level, and so I feel like as that's Kobe's best chance, but Kamara got so much better with the hands. I just feel like he's gonna knock him out in the third round. He's gonna wobble him a couple of times in the second round, really make it look like he's coming in for the finish, and then he finishes it in the third round. Like he's gonna knock him down, get him with some hammer fists in the face, and I believe it, hopefully Herb Dean's there. He's gonna have to run in there.
See, I can see that, but I don't know. I just have a feeling because the thing with the Usman, we forget that was 2-2 going to round five. It wasn't like Kobe was getting dominated. That was the toughest fight of Kamaru's career. And now, and also there were some I personally think Mark Goddard did not have a great officiating that night. Me personally, because there was like a kick to the liver that was called a kick to the groin area, even though it wasn't. If you go back and watch it,
Yeah, yeah,
and then there was the eye poke, where Kobe somewhat might have poked him here, maybe, but yeah, he was grabbing this eye.
yeah,
And to me, it's like especially kick to the liver because a kick to the liver can definitely change. That's why it's like man, I mean, I'm not saying Usman's not great. Of course, I'm not saying he's great. I mean, he's obviously proven it, but it's like, man, how those two things didn't occur. What the heck would have happened in the fight?
Yeah, I can agree with you there wholeheartedly. What like rewatching that fight, I can see that's why Kobe had a great case to call for the rematch. But at the same time, what I felt was like I don't know. I was just happy that because that happened, we get a rematch of that great fight. But
Right.
I'm just like it's just honestly what the eye test is telling me is that I feel like Kamaru is just so much better with the hands. He's gotten so much better that it's just gonna be a different fight. I don't see this going the distance. I really don't. And Kobe's one of those guys, like I said, one of those guys I don't trust because he's like, granted he has a little head movement, but he's one of those guys that if I take punishment, I'm gonna dish it right back worse. And then yeah, let's go for a trade. And I don't think you want to trade with Kamara with nowadays.
Well, you don't, but I don't see Kobe's that type of guy to take the punch to give a punch. Not at all.
Well,
Because he
that's
didn't.
that's what the fight kind of degenerated to, especially the third, the fourth, and the fifth round. Like it that's why I think it kind of swung into Kamaru's favor. Like the fight just kind of degenerated into, you know what, we both know we're not gonna wrestle here. Let's, throw the hands. And for a while it was skillful. It was, I got your number. Okay, now you got my number, and it was trading back and forth. But around that third, fourth, and fifth round, they were just so tired of all the games that they're just like, all right, let's stand in the pocket and let's trade.
Right. Right. Yeah. So I gotta watch that because Kobe usually doesn't. Because I mean, he's fought against Robbie Lawler and Tyron Woodley, and yet those guys never really got, or even RDA. He's got power too. Usually, I don't recall him staying trade with those guys, which you should never do because all three of them can finish you with their hands. Despite.
Yeah. I completely understand, but that was is like I said, I don't know. I think genuinely they don't like each other,
Well, yeah, they
and
don't. That's legit. Yeah.
yeah, and so like when that's happening, like it was just like I said, that's why the fight was so good. You're watching the fight, and you can tell these two guys genuinely don't like each other. Like Kamara said it on the Joe Rogan podcast that his dad told him, like, yo, go knock this guy out. When you have your dad telling you to go knock this guy out, that's already putting the chip, that's putting the chip on your shoulder.
All right.
Like, and that's just what it was. Like, it just degenerated right into like it was no more strategy. I don't like you, you don't like me. Let's fight about it.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, and that's it. It's gonna be November at Madison Square Garden. Oh, allegedly Madison Square Garden. We don't know if it's gonna be in that. But it's supposed to be early November. We know that for a fact. So look forward to that fight. And but by the way, I'm excited for this Bellator cards come Saturday. The finals of the featherweight tournaments.
Oh, I haven't been keeping up with Bellator at all. So maybe you could enlighten me. I could watch that event.
Well, yeah, this main event might be arguably Bellator's best main event they've ever put on, in my opinion. You got Patricio Pitbull, the featherweight champion,
Mm,
going against AJ McKee, the undefeated 17-0 young prospect. Well, I guess I won't call him prospect. He's basically, I mean, 17-0 finals of tournament. He's arrived, and this fight is so. These guys, the last two fights have been finishes. Pitbull, submitted Emilio Sanchez, and then in the round before that knocked out Pedro Cavallo in like 3 minutes. Then AJ McKee in the semifinal, no, the quarterfinals, had I believe an 8-second knockout, and then
mm-hmm.
the semifinals had like a guillotine, but he did his own version of it. That's called a guillotine. Like he basically invented a new version of a guillotine, basically, and I love it because these two guys are coming in as the two best featherweights in Bellator. These guys have been on the roll, and these it's basically titles on the line, tournaments on winner tournaments online, $1 million. The
Yeah,
big the big this is like the everything's on the line, all the marbles, and it's going to be the first Bellator show outside with fans since like last year in Los Angeles, which is AJ McKee's hometown. And those two have talked a lot of shit to each other. They're very confident, but same time, they don't. Pitbull's talking about he's gonna make his father. He's gonna make his basically he's gonna make agent. His father's talk too much for him, and he's gonna make his father and pay for all the things he said by beating up his son
Mm,
Pitbull is very confident in his own right. And AJ McKee's talked about once he beats Pitbull, he wants to go and get Pitbull's 155 title that he also holds as well.
mm.
Yeah, it's a lot of juice in this fight. A lot of
Yeah,
juice.
yeah. This potentially could be like the this could be the I don't know how else to say it, the magnitude of this fight as far as like knowing that we could possibly get a second one. This is like I don't this is like John Jones Adesanya.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I know some people may scratch their heads, but I know exactly what you mean. Like,
Because like when Adesanya went into Blachowicz, like that fight meant more than the title.
yeah,
That fight, it was more than the title. It was about, hey, if he goes in there and wins the title, you're essentially telling John Jones, come back down to the weight class. You do not have finished. You're not finished here. There are guys that you were overlooking that were killers and were waiting for you. So I don't know. That sounds very interesting. I'm in tune for that.
yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. And then who knows? I mean, this fight's just gonna. This fight's just. I'm so hyped, man. This is the most hyped I've ever been for a Bellator fight. Also, you also got Khabib's cousin Usman Nurmagomedov fighting this card, who's 12-0, going against Manny Murrow, who Usman's Bellator debut in April looked very great. I mean, his stand up. I mean, he's probably has the best stand up of all the Nurmagomedovs. Whether it be Khabib, Umar, and Abu Bakar. Not
Yeah,
counting Islam. Islam's not Nurmagomedov. Some people mistake Islam Makhachev as being part of the family, even though he's grown up with Khabib, but still. Usman does look like a force in that 155-pound division in Bellator eventually. He's like all of Dagestanis are good, especially the ones that train for Habib.
yeah. Khabib
And
is doing something over there. That's I don't know what's in the water over there, but Khabib got it right.
yeah, give credit to his father, Abdulmap, who trained Habib and those guys originally. Now Habib's taking his father's place. And we
Yeah,
see Usman now, 12-0. And then also in this card, you have another Habib's one of Habib's training partners, Islam Manov, not Makachev, another fighter named Islam, 19-1, who on a 19 fight unbeaten streak, hadn't lost. Basically, this guy hasn't lost since 2009.
mm,
Going against Brett Primus, who was the former Bellator lightweight champion, who's won two in a row, two submission victories. So that's a pretty compelling fight. And also the co-main event's pretty good. Two elite featherweights, Emmanuel Sanchez, who's coming off the title loss and tournament loss to Pitbull, going against Mads Burnell, who's a very great submission artist, got 9 submission victories. Sanchez has a lot of submission victories, but that was usually early in his career. Now he's more of a complete fighter. Trains out Duke Rufus, as Duke Rufus as his coach. I mean that should be a competitive featherweight matchup. Also, I mean, this to me is the best Bellator card of the year. Gotta give them credit. Bellator, they really did a good job for their first show back with fans outside of Connecticut. And go ahead.
the last fight that you were talking about sounds really interesting because it's nothing I love seeing more than a fighter who comes into the league that they're in, as an incomplete fighter, but they slowly grow and learn. Like they learn that they don't necessarily need to master all the skills, but they just need to learn enough that they're that they can thrive in the business. Because a guy, as soon as you said that, a guy's name who comes into my mind is Kevin Holland.
Yeah, well, he's trying to get there right now. He needs to work his wrestling defense. I know he's training with Daniel Cormier, which is definitely the right guy to go to
Yeah,
going to deal with wrestling. Yeah, and that's a good point. And we'll see if Kevin Holland can definitely work on his wrestling defense and things like that. Because if he can, I mean, he could be a contender for that 25 title in the UFC.
yeah.
That's a good point there, Dan. Yeah, but yeah, it's like I said. I mean, if you like high level MMA, this Bellator fight is this Bellator card's for you, especially the main event, particularly. Also, the co-main event, and yeah, Yeah, it's a lot of great names. If you like seeing Dagestani's fights, you got them here. Two Dagestani fighters on this card.
Yeah,
You also
I love watching the people from Khabib's camp. So I definitely have to watch this. The last the last card that I watched that wasn't really UFC was I believe PFL when they had Clarissa Shields
oh yeah, she won. Oh yeah, that's right. She won like she
against.
struggled.
Yeah, she struggled, but she won against Brittany Elkins, and it was a good fight, something for her to start off on. But I was just really interested in her next fight and whatnot. But yeah, Bellator is something I should be paying attention to.
Right, yes. I mean, get Bellator. Gotta give them credit. They've definitely improved their roster from like a few years ago, where it was like iffy. They've definitely gotten better with some guys they've signed, whether it be free agents or talent development. Scott Coker, let's not forget, did build Strikeforce, which at one point was the number two company in all of MMA, and a lot of those guys did well in the UFC. So Scott Coker knows what they're doing, and we'll see. And like I said, this is definitely a great card to watch if you're a Bellator fan, if you're an MMA fan. And there's a UFC show this Saturday, and even though the main event is interesting, you have Uriah Hall versus Sean Strickland.
Ooh, yes, yes, we could definitely talk about that, but let's go over that card.
I mean, I mean, it seems like to me this card is the main event's solid. I like the main event a lot, especially. But to me, this card's like this is guys that I know that I'm interested in, like Shamil Abu. His name's hard to pronounce. Shamil Abu Murkamov, who's a heavyweight from Dagestan heavyweight, and that was the other fight I mentioned. Derek Lewis had where he was struggling early on, but came back and win. He's going against Chris Dacus in heavyweight fight. And I believe Shamil is number 7 in the world. I believe he's up. He's ranked. He is ranked. You got co-main event. You got Smiling Sam Alvey there going against Roman Kopolov, who's 8-1, Russian guy. Of course, he's Russian. That name. But yeah, tell me what your thoughts on the main event: Uriah Hall against Sean Strickland.
That is a fight that I'm really interested in because Sean Strickland. I mean, both of these guys, they're violent fighters who just want to throw the hands. That's it. They don't want like Uriah. If you want to go on the ground, he'll possibly go on the ground with you here and there. But mostly, they just want to go. They just want to throw their hands. And this is a very interesting main event. Hopefully, the undercards set up a nice tone because a lot of these fighters I really don't recognize. But yeah, that main event is really interesting.
I'll give him that compelling. It's a very compelling main event, especially you mentioned both guys at the strike, which I would not do against Uriah Hall. That's the why. I mean, Sean Strickland, unless he's like an elite striker himself, I don't recommend doing that because it seems like Uriah Hall's finally figured out his mental problems. Because if you remember the Ultimate Fighter, Uriah Hall's like a killer, like he was going to be the next force in the middleweight division. But then then he lost the final to Calvin Gastelum, and then he was like I think he's talked about how he's had like confidence problems or mental problems in terms of like pulling the trigger and things like that, reach his potential.
Yeah.
But now he looks like he's finally done that. I think he's won like 4 in a row or 5 of the last 6 fights. Even though his last fight was unfortunate, Chris Weidman injuries. Chris
Yeah.
Weidman,
Yeah, that was bad.
yeah, yeah, that was bad. I mean, yeah, unfortunately, but Uriah looks like a guy. He's finally become the guy that we expect him to. And personally, I mean, unless Sean Strickland, mixes it up and tries to make it is able to get takedowns and maybe do a lot of clinch work, I think Uriah Hall's gonna should beat him because not many guys in this division, 25 are up to at the striking level of Uriah Hall.
Well, I understand what you're saying with that point as far as Uriah Hall's ability to, I think it's more so the power. I think it's more so the power that you're seeing the difference in power. But with Sean Strickland, the reason why I feel like he would just be best suited doing the striking is because he's not a wrestler by nature, but also the way he strikes, he just finds the person's face, the target that he's looking for, he lands on. So I think like with that, it's more so if he's gonna keep it on the feet with Uriah Hall, what his camp should be more so focused on is footwork and angles. He should more so delve into that ability to, target what he wants and lands on it by just working on the footwork, moving around. This should be more of a fight where he's circling a lot.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I can see. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe throw angles where you can catch Uriah, maybe at a blind spot, and also that way you don't get hit. Oh, my bad. You don't get. It's hard for you to get hit, obviously, if you're moving around and stuff. I see what you mean there.
Yeah, like I don't feel like I don't know. I don't know for how long Sean Strickland has known that he had this fight coming up, but in that amount of time, I wouldn't suggest learning wrestling and then trying to do that on Uriah Hall, because I feel
Right.
like that would just put him at a disadvantageous position, and that would just leave him open for Uriah to just smash.
Right. Right. Or you could do like a clinch work, maybe like fighting clinch, like dirty boxing Uriah, like elbows, knees. I was trying to say that, but for some reason I don't think I got my point across. Well,
No,
you're
if anything, you're absolutely right with that. That is something he should also do as well. But just staying on the feet completely, like stay with your strengths. No matter how much a guy may outclass you, you can't just you can't give up on what you know. It's what got you there.
right. Good point. Yeah, that makes sense. And well, yeah, man, there's a lot of great fights going on this weekend. I mean, we just had a great fight with Dillashaw and San Diego. Now we're gonna get Strickland, Hall, and UFC, and then you got Bellator, the finale of the featherweight tournament with Pitbull and McKee. Also, and this, a lot of great main events, and definitely great time being a mixed martial arts fan right now.
Yes, most definitely. It's so much fun, and the way the UFC is just rolling out these cards left and right, it's a sight to behold. Get your popcorn ready. Get your UFC Fight Pass subscriptions ready. Get your ESPN Plus subscriptions ready, because they're coming out like hotcakes, and all these fighters, they're coming out not to disappoint but to put on a show.
Right? Yeah. I mean, they've been doing that. Yeah, definitely. They always come to perform. Especially, it seems like to me ever since the whole pandemic happened, it seems like they've really been going out of their way to make sure these fights delivered. I don't know if it's just me or it seems like ever since they've been more motivated, considering they were the first sport back in this, and I guess people need to be entertained more.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, but I think the pandemic and the certain fighters' responses to the pandemic, I think that staged a response to the UFC and them releasing the certain fighters, because I think number one, that it may have been a budget cost as far as contracts to get rid of more so, but a lot of the fighters who just performed great out of the pandemic, they consistently showed. Like Corey Sandhagen came out of the pandemic and he put on a show. Max Holloway came out of the pandemic and he put on a show, which is why he's first in line for the title and he can't really fight anyone else right now. Brian Ortega did the same thing, and
Kevin Holland.
Kevin Holland did the same thing, even to a degree. What's his name? The Korean Zombie. What's this guy's
Davidson,
name who just
Davidson Figueredo.
Davison Figueredo, Brandon Moreno. The way they ended off the year,
Yeah.
it was a show, and it let the world know. It truly let the world know that, hey, there are other divisions to pay attention to, and if you pay attention to those divisions, you will not be disappointed. Everyone is giving you a show. So with that, I think the people who performed really well under the pandemic, they were able to show a type of discipline as to, hey, while the pandemic was going on and that you're not supposed to be going out and, hey, you could lay on the couch and eat up and get fat or whatever. No, these were guys who set up gyms in their homes, and they were watching their old fights and watching their old tape and going, hey, these are the mistakes I made, and let me correct it on this. So let me spend this time training this. And So all those guys, the people that stayed consistent, those were the guys that were able to flourish. A
Yeah,
guy like
yep.
I'm sorry for cutting you off, but a guy like Adrian Yanez, Edson Barboza,
Oh yeah.
Benil Dariush, all these guys, they were able to showcase their talent, which is why they may be lower ranked or not ranked at all, but these guys, they give us something to look for.
That was definitely, yeah. You're good. That's a good point there. And by the way, who do you think's gonna win the Strickland and Uriah Hall? It seems like, or you don't have to give a prediction if you don't want to. Do you lean in favor of anyone or no?
Um, I, it's it's gonna be a good fight. I know that much, but I'm kind of leaning towards Uriah Hall. I think his last couple of, well, granted, not the Chris Weidman one. He wasn't able to show, that show more of himself, but especially the shoot, which is it? The
Anderson Silva.
Anderson Silva fight. Granted, Anderson Silva was a more he's an older athlete. I believe like he was able to showcase like just a complete package with Anderson Silva. Anderson may have made some slip ups, but he's still Anderson Silva, and he's still able to he's still the spider in that ring, so in the octagon. So I believe that he was able to showcase something in that match.
Yeah, you did, yeah, you're right about that. I agree with you. I mean, Silva has moments in that fight, but Uriah was able to just make the adjustments and put away Anderson Silva. So yeah, I mean, Uriah did show me something in that fight. Despite Dan White for some odd reason criticizing Uriah, which I thought made no sense, but whatever.
Yeah,
Anyway, but yeah, I mean, he's definitely looking forward to Saturday night for both shows. Definitely exciting. Gonna be great. I mean, happy Covington Usman's being made for November. We also Jan Sterling that is also, I think this past week recently was announced for October, late October in Abu Dhabi.
yes,
So we got some fights being made and great fights coming up this week, and then we got fights down the road, and it's definitely exciting. Could be hopefully great end of the year to the UFC. You know,
yeah. Hopefully, like the UFC has been doing wonders. Like I said, everyone get your subscriptions ready. If you watch them on those sites, get your links ready. But yeah, watch them. Watch the
yeah,
fights. They're great.
yeah, definitely. And shout out to Nick's Real Talk for your comments. I see you, Austin Dan, the future 100. Yeah, thank you for the compliments, Nick's Real Talk.
Hey, what's up, Divine?
Yeah, Divine. Yeah, good. Yeah, sub Divine. Hope you're doing well. And yeah, man. And anything else you want to talk about or plug before we end this?
Last thing I wanted to talk about, it may not be so controversial or whatnot, but Stipe Miocic, because I know the heavyweight division, it has some interesting characters, but we know who's contending for what. But Stipe seemed upset at the fact that that interim title matchup was made, and he even hinted at going to fight at one championship. I know he's not really going to fight at the one championship because he has a good deal here at the UFC. But do you, do you think Stipe has a right to be upset? Do you think that he should immediately be called for the rematch?
I understand where he's coming from because you mentioned Cormier got the trilogy fights after Stipe beat him the second fight. After because Francis and Stipe are 1-1. Francis won. Stipe won the first fight. Francis just won the second one. And the DC Stipe trilogy, Cormier won the first one fights, and then Stipe won the second fight, and yet the trilogy fight was made. I guess
Yeah,
Stipe mentioned after everything I've done, Stipe's defended the belt more than any heavyweights. He's the greatest UFC heavyweight of all time, and he's thinking, because my legacy, we're 1-1, I should get the trilogy fights. In which I understand where he's coming from. 'Cause those are fair points, but also understand that UFC, Steve, UFC's point, whereas hey, Sarah Gon's definitely now look like he's a rising contender now. He looks like a guy that could be a force in his division, and then Derek Lewis keeps on winning. You have these guys, and then originally it was supposed to be John Jones and Francis, but negotiations failed there. Unfortunately. So now they gotta move on to the division, I guess. And I guess maybe they want fresh blood for Francis, I guess. although Francis is not exactly happy with the whole interim title fight because Francis felt like he was ready to fight in September. But yeah, I guess they need a main event. I guess the UFC they need a heavyweight fight or a big fight for the Houston card in August. So that's why they
Hmm.
got Derek Lewis, the hometown boy, against Aragon. But yeah, I mean, I get both sides. I mean, UFC side and Stipe side. I mean, what about you?
The way I see it, Stipe definitely has a gripe because I feel like if anything, oh man, I say regardless of whether John Jones was there, and I know he's the money fight to make. I think if Stipe wasn't sidelined for that for a lengthy amount of time, and that
Hello, Dan. Hello. Sorry about that. Looks like Dan's feed must have cut off. Hang on. Looks like he's coming back. Give us a second.
I am back. Austin, I'm here. I'm here with you guys. I'm behind the scenes with you guys. I hope you can hear me.
I hear you.
All right, good to go. Dan will be in a minute. I guess he broke down, but hit those likes and hit the likes and subscribe. Dan is back. Let me put him in, add him to the stream. And
hello, I can't hear you guys.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. I can hear you loud and clear. I've just got to try to add Dan back on the stream, and I will
Uh,
continue being behind the scenes.
Give us a moment. Hang on. Can you hear me now, Dan? Here. No.
Dan,
Can you
Dan, are
guys
you
hear me?
available there? Dan, yes, we can.
I hear you.
Hello.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay,
Yes,
okay, I
you're
can hear
coming
you
loud and
guys.
clear to us. We're here.
Well, I can't hear BX.
Wait, can you hear him?
Yeah, well, he just left, but I can hear you.
Okay. Give us a moment. Yeah. Yeah. Finish up what you were saying. I think I. Oh yeah, it's the Stipe. What you thought of those Stipe situations you brought it up?
Yeah, but as far as Stipe goes, I feel like if the John Jones negotiations had fell through and Stipe wasn't sidelined, to the point where even if the negotiations went through, that he wouldn't have been able to fight. Um, I just think that he should have gotten the next. He should have gotten the next call. I think he. I don't think this interim matchup should be happening. Granted, Derek Lewis has been waiting, and he's the rightful number one contender. But if you had the ability to book this Cyril Gane Derek Lewis matchup, I think you had the ability to book a Stipe Francis matchup.
You know what? You're right. I agree with you there. Yeah, you could easily done it where Stipe and Francis have the trilogy fight, and then Zeragon and Derek Lewis in the co-main event. That way, the winner of that co-main event fights the winner of Stipe and Francis. So it could have worked either way. I mean, I get. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you there. Especially everything Stipe's done for that company. I mean, Stipe's won. Stipe's defended the belt more times than anybody. He's the greatest heavyweight the UFC's ever had. You know, in my opinion, the second best heavyweight behind Fedor, but that's a whole nother discussion for another day.
Mm,
He's a legend, and he's a legitimate legend, and the fact that they've done him, he feels like they've done him dirty, which you can make an argument they may have done in the past.
yeah. But like I said, Stipe, like he deserves that call. But the the whole circus around the contendership is interesting. But as long as it results in more fights, that's the only thing that we the fans care about.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. And well, I think we can end it here. We on for over an hour, and it's great talking to me your first time and talking to you,
It
Dan.
was great talking to you, BX. Nice seeing you, man. I
Yeah.
still can't hear you.
Hopefully that thank you for joining us. I know I was behind the scenes. I was here with the board and all that. I know we're having a little
As
bit of hard time with our end. Yeah, I think we're having a little more on end, but Austin, you could close the show up. Say your final thoughts and the evening so we could close up the show.
My final thoughts are Dillashaw's back, still top 5 bantamweight. Corey Sagan, still one of the elite fighters in the
I
world,
can't hear
bantamweight.
anyone.
Um, you know, hear me now, Dan, or no? Shoot. Anyway, I'm gonna make a closing argument, my closing statement. Like I said, Dillashaw, top 5 bantamweight in the world. So is Sanagan.
Oh.
Dillashaw is impressive considering it was 2.5 years. Here, Dan, is that you?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, I was saying, good job. Sanagan, Dillashaw. Hopefully, maybe they'll fight again. But right now, two of the top 5 bantamweights in the world. Their division's exciting. Judging needs to be fixed because judging was all over the place this UFC card. Sean
Yeah.
Strickland and Uriah Hall definitely exciting middleweight fight for a main event. Good, we'll see what happens if one of them can establish itself as in the top 10 more. And then of course the Bellator card. I mean the fairweight tournament's finally going to end, and this is the best matchup Bellator can have with Agent McKee be undefeated, homegrown guy against Pitbull, who's their probably the best fight they've ever had. Who's a big star, in Brazil at least, and maybe this could be a big moment for McKee or for both guys rather. And this is probably the best card they put on this year, and definitely a great time being an MMA fan. And hopefully you guys can enjoy. Hopefully you guys will be able to enjoy this show Saturday nights wherever you're watching them, and definitely look forward to talking to you guys next week about these fights. Hopefully it's a great show, both of them, and we can be help. Hopefully they live up, which I think they will. And anything else you want to say, Dan? Close.
Just I'm gonna be on the lookout for that Bellator fight. It's gonna be very interesting. I'm definitely on the lookout for the UFC fight. But yeah, hope everyone stays safe. Hope everyone stays healthy, and hope everyone has a good night.
Right, I agree. Well, pleasure talk. Well, have a good night, Dan. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Dan, thank you so much, guys, for get that like and subscribe. This is these two, the MMA with Dan and Austin on a special night with Bronx Sports Jedi. Had some technical difficulties in the other computer. But hey, you guys did a wonderful show. I appreciate you guys breaking this down. I can't. Hopefully, you can join us weekly on this to break down on when you can about the MMA. We usually do this on Thursday nights. That's the day that Austin could really be comfortable to do it. Also a lot of ins and outs, and that's he likes to do it, and we'll keep it going, man. Keep on that grind. Let's share this photo. Let's make this program go viral. You guys are doing something that a lot of guys aren't really much breaking on the UFC and Bellator and all these MMA fights. I'm really excited that you guys did a wonderful show, and it's gonna be a fun weekend. I know we're gonna be probably texting back and forth on these fights and these results, and it's gonna be fun and and laughing and see what happens. And it's on footage here. You guys think you made your prediction, and if it comes ready, you guys gonna be there. So hopefully, we get to share this video and do great things. And guys, don't forget to Thursday night the NBA draft. That's why we moved the show to today. We got the Knicks Real Talk and Bronx Sports Jedi Network is going to simultaneously do our draft party. I want you guys to join us, be part of it. If you're an NBA fan, and also share these videos with people who like fighting. MMA fighting. It's growing, and we want to continue. And thank you for all the support, everyone that's helping me grow this channel through the MMA as well as the basketball, as well as the bilingual program, and then on all the music. So from Bronx Sports Jedi and from Austin and Dan, man, we have a good night. Dan, stay backstage to talk for a minute, and we'll go.